I'm back again. Back again. Because this time it comes at night. We're recording at night, so God damn it, it's just me. It's directed by Trey Shults. I have no clue who he is. He's done probably one movie that was called Krisher. That's pretty much it. But he co-wrote this. Actually, no, he didn't. He wrote this himself. Film stars Joel Edgerton, which we all know. He was in The Gift. He directed that as well. Also in The Warrior and this and that movies here and there. You know who he is. You've got Kelvin Harris Jr., who is a bit of an up-and-coming actor. He was in Birth of a Nation and TV series Roots. The new one, not the old one. Got Carmen Ejogo, who you might know from the recent Alien film, which is Covenant. She did do a few other ones. But she's pretty popular herself. She's not just an ordinary actress. Also, you got Christopher Abbott, who I have no clue what he's from, really. No idea. Riley Keough, and I think he's in American Honey and probably something else. This movie starts off with David Pendleton, who's basically playing the grandfather, and he's infected. So what they're gonna do with him? They basically shoot him, stick him in a hole, and burn him alive. Sorry, burn him dead. So obviously people are getting infected, and this family, who basically only 3 people in it, including Joel Edgerton, and he's trying to defend the family by keeping them all together, and they're in a house. Looks like a really big house, actually, all boarded up and everything. And they're staking it out because it seems as if the world's gone to pot, and everybody's getting infected for some reason, and that's the scary thing about this film. They're basically using natural light around the entire place. Because it's all boarded up, you don't really have much light coming in. You only got like a peepholes or a bit of a window. Mostly all just boarded up completely. So they're pretty much living in the dark. Not living in a box. And just when they've pretty much settled down, they're thinking, okay, we're just going to chop some firewood and keep a family together and get some food now and again. All of a sudden they have a break-in. Broken into by Christopher Abbott, who basically some guy. They don't know who he is, don't know where he's coming from. But they end up with him, who's saying, well, please don't kill me, I've got a family. I've got a family and a kid, a wife. Don't kill me. I mean, Joel Edgerton's wife, they both have a discussion. And think, best thing to do is probably, we can't let him go, because he knows where we live. What we can do is probably, I don't know, if he's got livestock, he's got a few chickens and whatnot, I think we should just let him live with us. At least we'll keep some of the food, and we can share his food as well. Keep us both alive. At least when it comes down to attack or anything, if they get attacked, they'll have more people with them. So that was a pretty good idea. So basically, Joel Edgerton goes away with the guy, Christopher Abbott. No, Christopher Rabbit. And they bring his family back, basically his wife and his small child. And obviously, Edgerton also has a kid, played by Kelvin Harrison Jr., who basically has a bit of a crush on the wife. Because, first woman they've seen, first woman he's ever seen, probably, who knows. He's a horny little boy. And it's from that point on that, it becomes trust issues, like, between the both of them, the pair, Joel Edgerton and Christopher Abbott. And his family versus his own family, of who he's more interested in and who's right, who's wrong. You get pretty much the whole film is really slow burn, but it just keeps burning very, very slowly. To the point that the only things you really have about the film is no real actual horror in it. There's no, because the way it's advertised, in the trailer you think, men become monsters. Not really. It's more of, there's no monsters in this, and if you've seen the trailer, you've seen flashes of stuff coming out of their mouths and all that kind of thing. Those are just Kelvin Harris Jr.'s dreams. For some reason, he keeps on having nightmares all the time. And the nightmares are basically, you're not even sure when the nightmare starts and when it ends. So it's one of those things, so you don't know if it's, a real thing that's going on, or is it just in his head when it comes to a nightmare. So that's basically all the scares, and there's a lot of jump scares here and there. The atmosphere is really gloomy. There's barely any lights, as I said. The house is all boarded up, so there's only flickers of light here and there throughout the entire place. But I would have expected more rooms, I don't know, shown around the house or whatever. But they don't really show that either. They make it really claustrophobic, so you're not even sure exactly where they are all the time. You don't know if they're in the kitchen, you're not sure if they're in the dining room, or where they are exactly in the house. But this kind of adds to the atmosphere. Problem is, that's all it's really got is atmosphere. And the atmosphere, after a while, isn't really scary. Now and again, you get a big bang here and there, and that may or may not make you jump. Didn't really make me jump. And when he's going outside, where he's just got a little torch, and a gun, you don't really feel involved, because what the director does, he puts the person in front of the camera, so it always feels like you're not really in danger. You got somebody in front of you, watching them move about, and whatever's in front of them is going to be attacking them first before the audience itself. So it kind of takes the tension away completely. So in that sense, it's not scary. An interesting character-driven film, so there's bits that actually are quite good when it comes to tension and comes to trust issues. But otherwise, nothing really happens. It doesn't really go anywhere particularly. It just shows how some people, trust when it comes to trust, especially when the world's going downhill and you don't even know what's going on outside. There's not quite enough tension in this, actually. What's going outside, trust issues can happen. But otherwise, nothing really much to this film. I can't really recommend it massively in any kind of way. It's interesting, that's it. Maybe you rent it and you might enjoy it, but if you're looking for some kind of horror or some kind of scares or even, dread, there isn't. It's just basically two families living in a house in the woods, and now and again you'll hear a knock here, a knock there, and otherwise just get along with their daily lives. And the only real horror part of it, or any real tension or dread about it, will be just having a nightmare now and again, which kind of maybe disturbing, but it isn't actually disturbing. It's just what's happening. You don't really feel scared throughout this entire film. I mean, it's in a dark cinema, and there's only a few people about, but nobody's really scared. People just went through the motions, and by the end of it, I think some people come out yawning. There's nothing really to it. It's a bit like The Witch, I guess. Or was it just The Witch or Witch? Which had a bit of that atmosphere, but I think that had more atmosphere than this did. That had more tension, the music was ramped up a bit more, and, you actually did feel like, something disturbingly weird about it. This is trying to do the same type of thing, but it gets nowhere near. I mean, for all I know, it's probably his best film. No idea. But I don't know, Trey Edwards. It's decent, it's nicely shot. Most of the shots are really extreme close-ups. But there's nothing there. It's just a standard, boring movie, really. It's still interesting, keeps your interest, but there's no real tension to it. There's no real big drama or massive different solutions about it, or, oh, look, this has just happened, we gotta do this and that. No, and it just ends on basically like most horror movies are ending these days, which is, oh, nothing's happening. Ooh, something slightly happened at the end of it, and then the end. Make up your own mind. Versions. I mean, you could say, okay, you could rewatch this. People have a look at the characters and the way they're characterized, and all the little meanings here and there, and that's great if you want to study it. But you can study pretty much anything. You study the goddamn Room. Doesn't mean it's a good film, but that's it. I mean, otherwise it's just has its own motivations, but as an entertaining piece, it isn't. So don't expect anything from it. Just if you're going into it, you're really probably going to be disappointed. I wasn't very disappointed, personally, because I knew exactly what I was in for. I knew there wasn't going to be any major scares and it was going to be a slow burn. But thinking of other people in the audience, when it comes to the trailer itself, which is badly advertised as a real big horror, people might come away disappointed. Me, I thought it was just interesting. It's okay. There's nothing I really want to watch again or recommend anybody else to watch either. So that's that. Otherwise, find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Twitter, which is letstalkshorts. YouTube, obviously, Night Reviews. And see you again soon. Not Will. I'll see you again soon. Actually, you know what? I think we'll see you again soon. Maybe somebody just turn up. All eyes on me.